Coming to you by way of the not-for-profit Mainframe Art Studios at 900 Keough Way in downtown Des Moines, this is 900 Views, a podcast about building community through the arts as we build an arts community. I'm your host, Pat Bodie, and today I'm at the second Scenic Route Bakery in what was, until recently, our Des Moines Social Club. And I'm with Katie Byers, founder and CEO of Home Diddy. An erstwhile attorney, Katie founded Home Diddy in 2017, and it is essentially an online dating service for musicians and folks who'd like to have concerts in their homes. To date, more than 300 house concerts have been booked through Home Diddy across the country. Katie has also recently launched a referral service for musicians and provides live music consulting, band sourcing, and concert promotion services. Katie's received numerous awards and recognitions for her innovative Home Diddy idea, including 2017's David Hurd Supporter of the Year Award from the Des Moines Music Association, and she was recently elected to Iowa Public Radio's Board of Directors. So welcome, Katie, to 900 Views, and I don't normally start this way, but Home Diddy has kind of cool mechanics. So just tell us a little bit about how it works.
Well, thanks, Pat. Thank you so much for having me. Well, I have to say my cool mechanics were developed by my cool software developers. So I have to give a shout out to Entrepreneurial Technologies in Urbandale. They've been great to work with. But yes, so Home Diddy is a software and a web-based company where you can go and sign up to be a host a musician in your home. And it will allow you to connect with musicians from all across the country. You can reach out to them directly. It will also teach you how to host a house concert, because many people don't know how to host a house concert. And a house concert is a very specific type of event. It's different from a party with music, live music in the background. It's a very specific thing. And so the software will walk you through booking the artist, creating your private event page, sending your invitations to your guests electronically, and then collecting funds from your guest if you're using a crowd fund to pay the musician, or entering your credit card if you're using the flat fee arrangement to pay the musician.
It sounds, because of the technology up front, has this sort of, and forgive the word, sterile, because of technology feeling sterile. The result is just the opposite. It's one of the more, and the word often used in articles and that I would have used based on my limited but valued Home Diddy experience, is intimacy.
Absolutely.
So tell me about how this intimacy plays into this concept of building community. I mean, we're in somebody's living room.
Yeah, right. Well, first of all,
there are pillows.
Yeah, right. Well, first, through the website, there's intimacy in and of itself, because each host and each musician has their own inbox, and you're reaching out and connecting with them directly, just sending a personal message saying, "Hi, I love your music. I'd love to host you," or vice versa. A musician saying, "Hi, I'm a musician from Nashville. Check out my profile. I'm going to be in Des Moines on this date. Would you like to host me?" And so there's a very personal connection that actually happens through the software as well. But then at the events, yes, it's very, very intimate, not only because it's small spaces and there are a small number of guests at each show, because each host only has a certain amount of people, friends that they can fit in their living room or their garage or wherever they host. And it's also very intimate because once the concert begins, there's no talking during the performance. Everyone is sharing in this communal experience. And to me, that's the magic. It's absolutely magical.
It's not background music in a bar.
Absolutely not.
So you got started doing this because 5 years ago or so, you were hosting some monthly home concerts.
Correct.
Can you harken back to some of those early days of doing that in your home and how that felt to you as a host, what you were getting out of that experience?
It's hard to even put into words what it did for me personally. It made me feel like I had a purpose in this world that was bigger than just being a mom and being a wife and being an attorney. It made me feel connected with people that I knew sort of on a name basis. You know, I'd run into them at events or what have you, but we never really had anything to talk about. And so through this shared music experience, every time I see someone that I now know much better through my living room concerts, it's always, oh my gosh, remember the such and such concert? And, you know, wasn't that incredible? And do you remember the story about, you know, such? And it's just been wonderful for me socially. It's been great for my mental health, you know, to feel like you're really making a difference in the world.
Well, now, I imagine as someone who's played her fair share of farmers markets and been paid in watermelons, I'm pretty sure that if I had a fellow musician here that they would, and it's not fair for me to call myself a musician, but you know what I'm saying. If I had somebody who does this kind of stuff here, they would probably really be appreciative of the payment. That's clear. But I'm betting there's just a whole lot more than that. What are some of these musicians telling you about this experience?
The really cool thing about house concerts is that it allows musicians to connect and grow their fan base. Generally speaking, we're talking about musicians that don't have name recognition. You know, they're not filling Wells Fargo Arena. You know,
big recording contracts.
Exactly, and big recording contracts. You know, the vast majority of musicians out there are independent musicians that are just trying to make a living. They're just really want to do what they're meant to do on this earth. And so at a house concert, musicians are actually able to play their original music and to get people to listen. Also at house concerts, people buy merchandise from the musicians. People say, oh, albums don't sell anymore. Well, guess what? They sell at house concerts because the people feel so connected to that musician and they're so moved by the performance that they absolutely want to buy their album and have the musician sign it. And now that musician has gained a lifelong fan that will follow them and go to their public shows. And it's a great way for musicians who are performing in an area outside of perhaps their home market. It's a great way to build an audience for a public show.
Now, I have attended just a couple of them. I just absolutely found them amazing experiences for much of the reasons you've been talking about. But what, again, are the folks who attend, people like me, what are they gaining from this beyond getting to listen? Mm-hmm. That's valuable. Mm-hmm. But take it a little further than that. I'm just guessing it's more.
There's absolutely more. Number one, it's a personal connection, a human connection. I think we all spend so much time on our devices. It's kind of a counterbalance to all of the technology that we have our faces in these screens all the time. And so to ask everyone to just really unplug and open their ears and their hearts and their minds and just take in this experience together, it's really mind-blowing. It's very old-fashioned in some ways, but it's so refreshing to so many people. Also, everyone in that living room, when we're all having this shared music experience, it doesn't matter who voted for whom. It doesn't matter who's sitting next to you is a CEO or a house cleaner. They are all having this beautiful moment, and we all realize that commonality and the connection, and that we're all not so different, and that we can find common ground and connect and just build a better community. So,
Katie, one of the things you just got to tell me is a story or two about what's transpired at some of these concerts.
Yes, let me tell you, there's been some really incredible things. One of my favorite stories is about a duo from Nashville called the Cerny Brothers, and they're originally from a small town in Illinois, outside of the Quad Cities, Sherrard, Illinois, and they had been in LA for several years, kind of got burnt out on that scene, moved to Nashville. I hosted them for a house concert in my living room, and the head of Meredith Corporation happened to be at that house concert and was so taken by them. And Meredith at the time, and I believe they still do, own a TV station in Nashville. And the CEO got on his phone and got these musicians that just played in my living room to be on TV for their morning Nashville show in their Gibson room, which is this very coveted TV appearance for Nashville musicians. And And they were brand new to Nashville, and everybody kept saying to this duo, how in the world did you get a spot on TV in the Gibson Room like that? And I said, well, it was a house concert in Des Moines, Iowa, believe it or not. And what it meant for these musicians was just incredible. And this duo, incidentally, just got featured in Rolling Stone magazine.
Oh, wow. And it all started in Katie Byers' living room. That's
exactly.
Fantastic. Any more stories that you haven't shared with me yet?
Oh, my goodness. I do have a funny, actually, about the same duo. Someone who attends our house concerts was in Nashville, and they had called for an Uber, and the Uber driver picked them up, and they just got to chatting, of course, and the Uber driver asked where they're from, and they said, well, I'm from Des Moines, Iowa, and they said, he said, yeah, I'm a musician, and we just got booked to do a house concert there in Des Moines, Iowa, coming up next month. And the person looked at them and said, is it Jay and Katie Byers' living room? And it was! And so it was really just that crazy connection to hear this person is in Nashville, and their Uber driver, who of course is a musician, had just been booked to play in our living room.
That's fantastic. You know, we always aspire to be some of these other communities that people talk about. Now we're getting talked about, and in part, due to stuff happening in people's living rooms.
I just thought of another great story, too,
Yeah.
I have to share. So Robert Warren, who is a dear friend of mine, who is the executive director at Hoyt Sherman Place and is just doing incredible things there with live music. He's been very supportive of our house concert series and of Home Ditty, and he will come to our shows. And he has actually, there was a group that he heard in our living room, and he was looking for an opener for a big act at Hoyt Sherman, and he reached out and hired this local musician to open for Rufus Wainwright, which was just
Wow.
an honor of a lifetime. So this musician got to perform on the Hoyt Sherman stage, just because they performed in our living room.
So we're here at the now defunct Des Moines Social Club. I'm sad to say. How can something like an initiative like Home Ditty or these concerts start to fill in some of that void that some of us are really feeling kind of deeply because we loved it here and came here often?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, host a house concert, start your own concert series in your home. That's definitely one way. But the second way is I'm also starting to do some public shows. I'm just launching a production company called Little Ditty Productions, and I'm going to really specialize in micro intimate concerts. Right now I've partnered with the Salisbury House. I've done 2 public shows there. They have a music license, so that makes it really convenient. We're going to do our 3rd show in November. All the shows have sold out. It's been really successful. So in 2020, not only will I continue to grow my house concert network and my referral network, but I'll start doing a lot more public shows.
So when these public shows occur, is this providing some level of contrast for you? I mean, how are you kind of viewing this public experience compared to what really got you started, which was something highly intimate?
Well, I'm still going to mimic a house concert in the public concerts. They're going to be very limited, very restricted on numbers. I never want to do a show that is over 125, under 100 preferably. I still want a very intimate experience. It's still going to be a listening experience. So it's going to be run just like a house concert, but the financials will be different, of course, because it's a public concert and there are additional costs associated with public concerts.
Are there advantages to doing that, though? And one of the reasons I'm asking is when you go to these home concerts, again, I've only been to a couple, but I've tended to know quite a few of the people in the space because I was on an invite list from a friend. Well, that's a wonderful thing and valuable, and we should explore that a little further, too, the value of that. But that didn't necessarily breed a lot of diversity in the space or a lot of new faces. Is this public venue maybe going to be able to do that a little better?
Absolutely, absolutely.
How do you go after that?
Well, I'm really fortunate that I have a great following already through my house concert network, and I have a great email list. I have, of course, all of my Home Ditty hosts and guests that have been at Home Ditty shows, and so I'm really hoping to broaden that. And, social media helps. I look for any sort of free advertising opportunities.
Well, you're good at marketing. Yeah. I mean, you're doing well with all that. Yeah.
Thank you. And so, it's a matter of putting it out there and then partnering with other organizations on the event. Like I said, Salisbury House, of course, had their own list of people. So by doing shows there, I've now opened up that experience to their whole group of followers and supporters. So I think that's really how I plan to grow it, is partnering with other organizations or businesses for that event and just grow it one concert at a time.
And then back to this piece where this experience from a community building standpoint, you talked about, I run into someone I didn't really know and now I have something to share with them. That's really valuable. But what about the deepening of the relationships that you already do have? How does this concert help make that kind of thing happen?
That's a good question. Again, I think it's just taking the time. We're all so busy, and again, we're all on our screens. And sometimes when even you know someone well and you're spending a little time with them, you're very distracted. You're checking your messages. There's a lot of sensory things, going on depending on where you are. So it really allows people to just clear their minds and just really share a moment of purpose and intent. And I find that is what really deepens the connection, the relationship. And my husband and I have experienced that. After been married 21 years, anyone who's been married knows that, relationships ebb and flow, and sometimes you feel more connected than other times. But we have definitely connected as a couple through hosting and our love of hosting and community and live music.
And you're married to Jay Byers, who's the president or CEO, I'm not sure the exact title, of the
CEO.
Greater Des Moines Partnership, runs the show over there, just does a beautiful job at that. And I would think that you guys probably have some interesting perspectives on community building based on the fact that you're coming at this from an very arts-oriented, intimate piece, and Jay's got to do a lot of big picture work on a number of topics. Just give me a little window on some of that community kind of conversation you guys have around the dinner table.
Oh, gosh. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but we often don't get a chance to sit down around the dinner table. It's usually one of us with our daughters and the other one is off doing something else.
So thank God you had some concerts you could go to together.
Exactly. Remember I mentioned the ebb and flow. It's tough. It's tough when you've got, teenagers with very busy schedule and, both Jay and I having busy schedules. It's I have to be honest, it's really hard to sit down to dinner, the two of us.
Yeah, that was probably not a fair way to ask the question. Do you ever, though, have some kind of conversations related to this whole concept of how the work you're doing gets at community from a couple of different angles?
Absolutely. And we will often, on purpose, reach out to someone or a couple who perhaps has either gone through a difficult time in their life, or we haven't seen them in a while, or what have you, and make an effort to personally invite them to come to our show. And oftentimes we'll say, we will pay on your behalf for you to come. And a lot of times, like I said, it's people who are new to the community, or perhaps someone who's lost a spouse recently, and we just know that this would be a great pick-me-up for them, and we're happy to cover that cost. And it's just something really nice you can do for someone.
So it's new introductions, it's music as support for people when they need it, it's some level of deepening of friendship, and it builds and builds and builds itself to the point where it can engage even more folks over time and will be a bit of a substitute for some of the losses here at the social club. It cannot help but do all those goals we've just discussed. Deepening our understanding of each other is really the ultimate piece.
It's so true.
And I thank you so much for taking the time to be on 900 Views. And folks, don't forget about Mainframe Studios, another great community builder. First Fridays, get out there, enjoy, 5 to 8 p.m. most First Fridays. Thanks for listening to 900 Views.